Okay, so we're diving into some pretty heavy stuff today.
Yeah.
Assisted dying laws in Canada.
Right.
I mean, most people listening probably already know about the existing MAID law,
Yeah.
the medical assistance in dying,
Right.
but it's this proposed expansion
Yeah.
that has everybody talking,
Yeah.
to include people with mental illness
Big one.
as the sole underlying condition.
Yeah.
And we found this article on Smart News,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Government would be foolish to ignore palliative care warnings over assisted dying.
Yeah. That's pretty strongly worded.
That's a pretty bold statement. So that's what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they think about, assisted dying, they think about individual choice, right?
Right.
Like somebody's right to make decisions about their own
Their own life and their own death.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
article is saying, hold on a second, there's this whole other side to this.
Right.
And that side is palliative care. And the experts in that field are pretty concerned.
Yeah, I mean, the article doesn't beat around the bush. Like, it uses the word foolish.
Yeah.
It straight up says the government would be foolish
Yeah.
to go ahead with this expansion without addressing the problems we already have.
Yeah. And that was the thing that I thought was interesting, right? Is like, why are those two things connected?
Right.
So the argument is that if somebody doesn't have access to adequate palliative care and support,
Right.
they might choose assisted dying, not because it's what they truly want,
Mm-hmm.
but because they just feel like a burden because they can't get the help they need.
It's almost like they're being forced into
Exactly.
making that choice.
And then it raises the question,
Yeah.
is that a truly free and informed choice?
Yeah. So what is it exactly that's inadequate about Canada's palliative care right now? Like, get down into the specifics.
Well, so you've got long wait times to even get a consultation with somebody. Right. Limited access to services, especially in rural areas where there just might not be resources available.
Right.
They also argue that the safeguards in place for MAID, like, you have to have 2 independent assessments by doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Those might not be enough to protect people who are vulnerable with mental illness.
So are there, like, specific examples of how expanding access to MAID without fixing these palliative care issues has gone wrong in other places?
Yeah, they do bring up some examples, places like the Netherlands,
Okay.
where they've seen an increase in people choosing MAID after similar expansions.
So
Potentially because
there was not adequate support.
Exactly,
Yeah.
support systems in place.
So is this like a one-sided argument then? We've got this pretty strong statement saying it would be foolish to move ahead with this expansion, but are there no valid counter-arguments? Like, what about people who say, expanding MAID is about respecting individual autonomy?
Right.
Where does that fit into all of this?
Well, that's the other side of the coin, right? And it's a legitimate argument that denying MAID to somebody with mental illness, even if there are gaps in palliative care,
Right.
could be seen as violating their right to choose how they die.
Right.
They're saying suffering isn't limited to just physical pain.
Right.
That mental anguish can be just as unbearable
Absolutely. Yeah.
as a physical ailment.
Yeah. So how does somebody listening make sense of all this?
Well, it comes down to this, right? If we're saying that access to high-quality palliative care is a human right, how do we make that a reality for everyone?
Yeah.
Not just for some people. And how would achieving that
Yeah.
change how we talk about?
The whole MAID debate.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not a simple yes or no question.
No, it's complicated.
It's not just about individual choice.
There's a lot of factors.
It's about the systems in place
Yeah.
and how those systems support people or fail to support people.
And it really makes you think about, like, what are our priorities as a society, right? Like, what are we actually saying when we make these choices about healthcare?
And that's the thing this article really does, is bring all of this to light. It's thought-provoking, it's a little unsettling, but it's definitely a conversation we need to be having.
Absolutely.
So I think for anybody listening, if you're not already thinking about these issues,
Yeah.
this is your cue to start. Because if everyone deserves access to high-quality palliative care,
Yeah.
how do we actually achieve that?
Yeah.
And how does that then shift the conversation around MAID?
Big questions.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's our deep dive for today.
Good stuff. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
See you next time.
See ya.